Panama Canal is often listed as a bucket list destination, and on our trip we got to see it both from B-side and inside the locks. So let's go! This is the story of two different tours out of Panama City to the Panama Canal. On the first one, we observed the Mariflores Locks from the visitor center. On the second one, we did a partial transit going south through two different sets of locks. This was a great way both to see the locks from the inside and the outside. The tour to experience the locks from the visitor center cost about $130, but it also included Casco Viejo. And it was a private tour. The partial transit boat tour was a little over $200 per person. Without further ado, let me show you my experiences on both. Approaching and then entering the area where the visitor center is, you notice a lot of the buildings left over from when this was the U.S.-run Panama Canal zone.
Everything. It's very good. Okay, friends? What?
On our visit, we got tickets to view both the locks and the IMAX film about the construction of the entire canal. And yes, there's a concession stand for the film. The film is in 3D, but because I have an astigmatism, I can't see 3D. Oh well. With the informative IMAX film behind us, it was time to go outdoors. The arrangement for watching the ships go through is interesting. You're basically in a grandstand. So before we headed up in it, we had a quick look at where the ships would be ending up and heading out rather than where they'd be coming in. By the time we reached the seats, they were pretty full, so my view was looking north toward where the ships would be coming from. And I promise you that there were seats, but I was among the folks that didn't have one. Soon enough, a ship arrived and was getting ready for its passage through the locks. Moving the ship into position is a slow, careful process. The ship pauses to be attached to electric trains called mules on both sides. Here you can see the mules. They're guiding the ship through the canal, not pulling it. They can adjust the tension on those lines to keep the ship centered in the waterway. The ship is the Atlantic Spirit. It's a bulk carrier. I don't know for sure what it was carrying this day. And if you take a look here, you can see the actual locks. By releasing the water, the ship is going to be lowered about 50 feet in about 15 minutes. This was the first of two sets of locks and would lower the ship about 30 feet. Now you see the ship name, and now you don't. It's going down. this point, the hull had ceased to be visible at all. At this point, I switched positions so I could see where the ship would sail away. And there it comes, again with the mules guiding it. Now at the same height as the Pacific Ocean, it would soon be making its way into that body of water. So that's the view from beside the locks. But what about the view from inside the locks? Well, we got to have that one as well. Our second tour departed from the small town of Gamboa. Oh, and there goes the train from Panama City to Cologne. There's the gangway to our tour ship, the Pacific Queen. I hustled up to the top deck, figuring that's where the best views could be found. The canal was busy today, and I imagine it's busy every day, with a combination of cargo ships and passenger ships. By the way, if you're hearing German, that's right. The announcements were made in Spanish, English, and German for this trip.
Einbahnrichtung zu sein, Einbahnverkehr, und ab dieser Seite, wo der Gattunsee beginnt, können die Schiffe sich kreuzen.
Capacidad aproximada de 5.000 vehículos. Oh, nice cruise ship.
I was unduly excited to see the Windstar Star Pride. I really hoped to take a cruise on this or one of its sister ships.
Hermoso crucero, pequeño pero lujosísimo. Anytime, man.
I hope you'll indulge me just a little bit longer. This really is an attractive small cruise ship.
Bueno, damas y caballeros, vamos a hablar de historia.
Would it be foreshadowing if I mentioned that Windstar has both motor vessels and sailing ships? Why, yes it would.
Primer hombre de Europa que trató de construir o insinuó construir una vía acuática a través del Istmo de Panamá, cosa que no se pudo. Se hicieron los caminos, el camino real, el camino de cruces, porque en ese tiempo no había...
All right, it was just about time to cast off and start our lunch cruise.
Para poder 9 meses de lluvia, selva impenetrable y teníamos un extra. Is the Panama Canal.
And it was about 10 minutes into being underway that I realized I was way too hot under this sun. So I went inside for a while. We were on our way to the Pedro Miguel locks, which is the first set of locks that step down from Gatun Lake down to the Pacific Ocean. I'll let you decide for yourself whether the sightseeing was good or bad during this part of the cruise. You could definitely see signs of the excavation that ultimately helped form the canal. And then we passed under the Bridge of the Americas. We started to catch up with a couple of the ships that we had seen pass by earlier, but that was because they were lining up for their turn in the locks. Every ship that passes through the canal has to have a local canal pilot brought on board. I didn't realize it at the time, but I got a little video of our pilot. He's the one in orange. Things were getting a little more interesting with the tugboats maneuvering the larger ships into place, with the pilots moving in on the smaller boats. We held our position here for quite some time. This is when I could have gone to eat lunch, but actually I didn't. I didn't want to miss anything. And then we were underway again. Here you can see the mules pretty well too. We were pulling forward to the locks, and if you look at the far right here, you can see them. There are two sets of locks. The larger set is made for the Panamax ships, and we went through the smaller ones, the original ones. Here's a good look at the locks themselves. Because our ship was small, more of a boat, other boats were able to go through at the same time as us. This catamaran pulled up next to us and actually lashed onto us for traversing the locks. The lady standing next to me likes dogs. Remember I mentioned Windstar's four masters? Guess what pulled in behind us? Here's a pretty good view of the mules guiding the ship down the center of the locks. Okay, so take a look at the water line on the side there and watch what happens next. After we had been lowered, it was time for the gates to open.
Where are you going next? Let's see it to Cortez. See it Cortez. Oh, here we go.
As the locks continued to open, the catamaran got ready to sail away without us. And then it was our turn. After clearing that second set of locks, we moved out into the Pacific Ocean and had this view of Panama City. Where to next? You'll see me in my next video.